Hello and welcome back. So today I am outside the Bristol Old Vic, which is a very famous theatre here in Bristol, unsurprisingly. So what I want to talk about today is why you struggle to quit drinking. And one of the main reasons is the glorification of alcohol. Now, why am I here? Why am I outside the Old Vic? Well, a couple of reasons. I want to tell you a story about two people. Okay, so two people that I know that work construction jobs. Now, they were working at the Old Vic, and one day they were working and decided that they were gonna have a drink. But they're working, so they're gonna have a drink, and they wait for a break. They have 15 minutes, that's all they have. And opposite the Old Vic are a bunch of bars. So you can see there's a pub back there called the Royal Navy Volunteer, a place that I've spent many a night drinking when I shouldn't have been. But let me tell the story. So these two guys, they decide that they're gonna have a drink. So they run across to the bar and they're just drinking as much as they can. So they're throwing pints of beer down, pints of Guinness. They've only got 15 minutes. They're throwing whiskies down, doing everything, everything they can just to get as drunk as possible. So as you can see, these are probably not exactly model citizens that we're talking about. And what they then did is they got so engrossed in what they were doing. They were chatting to people in the pub. They were having, a great time. And one of their friends came running into the pub and said, "Oh, you're needed at work. You're needed. The job can't continue without you being there." So, they finish their drinks. They run back in, fall over on the job, and as you can tell, it's a complete disaster. Now, that's one telling of the story, and that's one telling of people's journey with alcohol. Okay, now as you can tell, I'm kind of going somewhere with this, and some of you might already know the actual story, but the Old Vic Theatre, let's tie it into that. So these people, I don't know them, and they're not construction workers. Okay, it's actually two very famous actors. It's Richard Harris and Peter O'Toole. Okay, they were performing a play, and you can see the actual video on YouTube. It's Richard Harris on Conan O'Brien, and I actually watched it just now in preparation for this video, and even I was laughing at the story, because it's a glorified drinking tale. Now the actual story goes that they were on stage, or they were due on stage, and they had a 15-minute break before they were back on again. They ran across to the pub, which is kind of over there somewhere. As I say, it's called the Royal Navy Volunteer. We're here on King Street in Bristol, and they ran across there. Were throwing drinks down. Them were quite famous, so they were very popular in the bar. They were telling stories, and the humorous part of the story is they were blind drunk. Someone ran into the theatre, ran into the pub, and said, "You're due on stage. The play can't continue without you." So they ran in. Richard Harris came on stage, tripped, fell into the front row, fell into a lady's lap, and the lady said, "Harris is drunk." And Richard Harris says, "If you think I'm drunk, wait till you see Peter O'Toole." Now, funny story, okay? Ha ha ha. But this is what I'm talking about, is it's the glorification of alcohol, these drinking stories. And, I'm not immune to them. I've got my own drinking stories. And isn't it funny how when we tell these stories, there's a kind of rose-tinted view of them, and how it's, as I say, it's kind of glorified and made to feel like it's something cool and it's funny. And again, I'm not immune to it. I found the story funny. I found myself laughing at it. And we wonder why we have a problem actually quitting drinking. So, you know, is it any wonder that we struggle when we have famous people, celebrities that are endorsing it, telling funny stories? You think by drinking that you're kind of taking on part of that story and you're part of the mythos, and it's, you know, I'm sure we've all got that story or a bunch of stories where we will say, oh yeah, you know, every good story begins with I was completely wasted. You know, no great story begins with I was completely sober, or so they would have you believe anyway. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of get this out of my head, really, because I was just thinking about it, and because I'm in Bristol and, you know, I'm at the Old Vic, I just thought, you know what, I'm going to make an impromptu kind of video around the glorification of alcohol, because, as I say, it's no wonder that we actually struggle. I know I certainly did, and when I was actually drinking myself at, where is it back there, the Navy volunteer, when I was actually drinking, I thought it was great, you know, I thought I was cool for doing it, but looking back now, it's kind of obvious to me the level of, I guess you would call it, patheticness around being absolutely wasted. And I think that is a key thing, depending, you know, whether you're young or old watching this. When you're young, you can kind of, you know, you can pretty much take anything, can't you, and you bounce back from it. But the problem is this cumulative effect as you get older. As I've said, I'm in my 40s, and there's something about an older guy at the bar that is just kind of pathetic, and, you know, you end up, you're absolutely wasted, and you're slurring your words and staggering around, and it just doesn't hit the same as when you're 21. Like someone I spoke to recently, a young guy, 21, and he was talking about how much he was drinking and did he have scarring on the liver and stuff, and, you know, probably not. He probably doesn't have scarring on the liver, but, you know, you never know, you know, you never can tell. So but I think as you get into your 40s, it becomes much more pronounced, and things like your hangovers get worse, the psychological effects get worse, the mental health aspects get worse, and, you know, you can pretty much bounce back from a lot of things when you're young. When you're sub 30, you can bounce back from a lot of things, but when you're deep into your 30s, 40s, 50s and 60s, alcohol is absolutely no bueno. And to tie it back in with the glorification of drinking is the likes of Richard Harris, Peter O'Toole, what was his name, Oliver Reed, these kind of people. They become a kind of justification for drinking. You think, oh well, Peter O'Toole was a famous actor, multi-millionaire. Richard Harris, multi-millionaire, you know, they drank, I can drink. Well, you're not them. I'm not them. They are 1% of 1%. These are the functional alcoholics. Also, these are the people that are multi-millionaires that are, you know, they're not in danger of, you know, homelessness. You know, they're not, it's not, you know, it's not quite like cocaine or crack or gambling, you know, where you can literally throw your life in the toilet in a week. You know, it's a sort of insidious thing that just keeps going slowly over time and stealing from you. But as I say, you're not them. Don't use their stories to justify your drinking. Anyway, I feel like I'm labouring the point here. But if any of this is resonating with you, what I want you to do is you can book a call with me below. But if you click the link below, it'll take you, in the pinned comment, it'll take you to a page where there's a video explaining exactly what that call will look like and how we can get you onto a sort of program. It's completely free, and if you want to work with me, we can work through that program together. But if not, then you'll have that program to kind of take away with you and implement some things on your own. But yeah, click the link, it'll take you to a page. There's a quick video on there which tells you exactly how it all works. So anyway, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. In fact, before you go, what I want you to do, I want you to click this video here, okay? What happens when you quit alcohol for 30 days. All right, thank you very much, and I will see you in the next one.